Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. I hope you're good. Now, the other day I released an episode with Humayun Islam from Amar England, a multicultural England supporters group. Really interesting, really enjoyable chat, really nice guy. There's plenty of different England supporters groups up and down the country. It's just great to try and speak with as many of those as possible to hear about all the good positive things that they do. If you've not heard it yet, go give it a listen. You know where you can find it, your podcast provider of choice, or threelionspodcast.com. Now, also, if you did hear that episode, you would have heard that I was trying to organise a chat with someone out in Switzerland following the Women's Euros out there. Now, I'm pleased to say that I've now had that chat, and it's coming your way in a moment. Before I get to that, though, I just want to run through the status of the competition as it stands at the moment. It's always a bit hard to keep up to date with a tournament on a podcast because as soon as you release something, some of the games have been played. So it's maybe a little bit disjointed, but I hope you can appreciate and take that on board. Let's just go through the four groups. Group A is done and dusted. Norway won all three of their games. Maximum of 9 points, and they secured their spot in the knockout rounds, the quarterfinals. This after they beat host Switzerland 2-1 and then Finland 2-1. They could face any one of Spain, Italy or Portugal from Group B, as that's still to be decided as we speak at the moment. Switzerland, will they join Norway in the knockout stages after a last gasp injury time goal against Finland, which saw them through in a game that, quite frankly, took its time to come to life? Iceland, unfortunately, they were the first team to officially be knocked out after 2 defeats. Finland went with them. Group B, Spain, just as Norway did. Spain won their first 2 games, 5-0 against Portugal and 6-2 against Belgium. Second spot is still up for grabs. Now, that'll be taken by either Italy or Portugal in the last round of games. Spain take on Italy and Portugal faced Belgium. As after 2 defeats Belgium, they are also going home. Group C, well, that's already settled after just 2 games for all teams. Germany and Sweden won both of them, and they now face each other in the last group game. But it means that Denmark and debutants Poland, well, they face a trip home after they've played each other. And that brings us to Group D, England's group. France are through after their victory over us and their 4-1 victory over Wales. Now, both England and the Netherlands are on 3 points with a win and a defeat each. Wales, well, they are pretty much on their way home unless they can salvage a large goal swing victory against the Lionesses and France put the Dutch to the sword. It'll be interesting to see if the French rest some of their players and how that game goes. But if England do manage to progress and come second, we will face the winners of Group C. So that's either Germany or Sweden. Safe to say it's tough either way. I think so far it's been a fairly competitive tournament, although as yet no real upsets. Some of the quality, I don't think it's been as good as I've seen previously, and especially if I compare it to what I've seen from the WSL and maybe the Champions League, the Women's Champions League. Although I am expecting that quality to come through in the knockout rounds. We shall see. Right, let's cross to Switzerland. It's my pleasure to welcome back to the Three Lions podcast Steve Hopper, who's following the Lionesses and the Welsh girls out there in Switzerland at the moment. Steve, hello there.
Hello, Russell. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good to catch up again.
Yeah, very good. It's been a little while, hasn't it? It's
Yeah.
been on your podcast.
Yeah, no, but you're following the women once again, as we spoke about previously. But you kind of got a step up the ladder this time, haven't you?
I have, yes. So this is the first time that I've been accredited officially for a major tournament ever, which is
Awesome.
really, really exciting. Yeah, because I've obviously been on this journey for almost 10 years with both the Lionesses and the England men's team, traveling to a lot of tournaments and everything else, and doing a lot of work, but usually from the outside looking in. And I've done a lot of sort of minor tournaments as well with the teams, World Cup qualifiers included. But yeah, always been a dream of mine to be officially accredited for a major tournament. And here I am, here in Switzerland.
Well, first of all, congratulations. Tell us what's involved to get accreditation, because I'm sure there'll be people listening that are going, "Oh, I could do that job." And obviously, it's taken you, as you've said, a fair amount of time. But what's the general process of your journey?
That's a really good question, because it can be a bit of a battle. I think that if you're lucky enough to secure a position with one of the big bodies, the hierarchy, we'll call it, in terms of the BBC, Sky Sports, and so on, then your road to accreditation is going to be a lot simpler, because you're going to have a big body behind you.
Of course.
But if you are someone like myself, who over the years have been very, very committed to producing a very different type of story behind the content that I create, then that can be a little bit more challenging, because you're going to have to go through quite a few hurdles to kind of be recognized and be legitimized. I've worked for many, many different brands and networks over the years, but it's been a hard old slog. And in terms of kind of the road, if you follow almost the freelancer road, which is what I've done, or the contract road, it's very different. And you often, for starters, you've got to have a body of work behind you. And obviously that's something I've got over a 10-year period.
Yeah.
Once you've got that, it's really important as well to have some affiliation with a journalism body. So for instance, I'm accredited with the NUJ, the National Union of Journalists. I'm also accredited with the SJA, which is the Sports Journalism Association. And alongside that, I've also got an international Sports Press Association membership as well. So there's press cards across all of those. And you might think that would be enough to secure accreditation for a major sporting tournament like a World Cup or a Euros, but actually, no, because I've actually had them for a few years. With those, you need actually a lot more. There's a lot of red tape behind who they authorize to go along to these tournaments. But yeah, that's part of the path. And then you have to have a recognized sports outlet. This is really, really important. They call it a bona fide sports outlet. That's their terminology they use. And I think the change is coming in the industry, but it's in some ways, it does feel like there's a bit of it's almost like set in 1998 sometimes, even though we're in 2025 in the media, where it's difficult, I think, for new media to be recognized, digital media, social media. A lot of the times traditional media is still favored over new media, and still very much accepted as the path. And it's not like that anymore, of course, because, as you see it with your podcast and all the podcasts that exist today and all the social media channels, there's far more reach. When I think about some of the viral videos that I've been able to produce and have been lucky enough to have going on over the last few years, there's some that have reached millions of views, and you can't get that sort of audience for a lot of things that you have on TV. So, it's very different, and they have to start to understand that, I think.
Well, yeah. No, it's I understand that totally. Well, for those that are that maybe want to start that journey, there's the hard work and hard yards you've got to put in. But you've got your lanyard. I mean, is that basically you hold it up, coming through?
Yeah, pretty much. You hold up your lanyard. People check it on the way in. They still scan it. This morning I was at the England's training, and the guy sort of stopped me, security at the and I sort of was very proudly, as I have done throughout the tournament, I've worked very hard for this, showing it off, and I said no, I'm UEFA accredited, but actually even that didn't get me in there. So it's very different with what England training,
right,
with their base camp is very different, for instance, with what the Wales base camp have been doing. So over at the Wales camp we were there set up, from sort of 8:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon if we wanted to be there. So we'd have a base of our own to set up and do our work.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that at the England base training camp. I think you can do that at the hotel where they're at, but at certain times, but not at the training camp. So when we arrived today, I was sort of barred from going in. We had like 15 minutes to go in and do some filming of their training, and then we were kicked out very quickly. Hence why I'm in a coffee shop right now.
Oh, right. Well, I'm sure the coffee shop is just as good. But go on, tell us, what's Switzerland been like in the time you've been there, and the feel for the Euros?
Gosh, in one word, expensive. Luckily, I have been here before with the Lionesses. I think maybe for the men's team as well. So I was prepared for the expense and which helped. But it is so expensive. I mean, in terms of, in comparison to what we pay over in England, you're talking 2, perhaps 3 times more. If I give you an example, McDonald's, if you wanted to get like a Big Mac, you'd be paying 2 to 3 times more for that out here, depending on where you are in Switzerland. Zurich being the most expensive, pretty much.
Okay.
Bottles of water, maybe I've seen bottles of water in shops as much as maybe £4.50. Just very standard bottles of water. So yeah, very expensive. That's the first thing that I've noticed out here, and I've had to be very clever with my budget, especially being a freelancer and a contractor. So that's what a lot of people might not know when you freelance and contract. All depends on the work that you obtain, and not every job that you obtain will give you expenses. So you have to be sort of conscious of that when it comes to these kind of trips. But yeah, in terms of Switzerland and the feeling out here towards the tournament, towards the Women's Euros, they've certainly embraced it. They're talking about this tournament being based around emotion. One of their catch lines is based around emotions. And you can see that they're embracing it and doing their best to bring this on board. Of course, we did it better in 2022 because I'm biased. But the home of football and everything else. But no, look, it's been interesting. I've been around a few cities, seeing what's been going on, and they're doing their best to really bring this on board. Yesterday had an amazing feeling in Zurich for the England versus Netherlands game. There was a lot of fans, sold out stadium, very exciting. So people are embracing it. They're doing their best for it. There's still a long way to go, as we always talk about in women's football, in terms of aligning alongside a men's tournament and the hype that a men's tournament creates. But it's getting there. It's building bit by bit. That does come with a consequence as well, or a number of consequences in changing things. But that's another story, perhaps for another day. But yeah, in terms of Switzerland embracing it, it's a good place for it to be hosted, and the transport is very, very good out here as well. There's a lot of free transport for fans who are going to the games. I've been lucky enough to have free transport all the way, which has been really good, going from city to city, with my accreditation, of course. So that's been really, really good. That's been useful. But no, the transport network is, as of course it should be, coming from Switzerland like clockwork. See what I did there?
Very good.
So yeah, I've had that's been very good. So it's an ideal country, an ideal cities, I think, to be hosting a major tournament. They've done it before with the men's 2008, I think
Yes.
that was the men's Euros, where alongside Austria. So, they are certainly privy to hosting something like this. So it's been good. It's been a good journey for me.
Yeah. No, I've been keeping an eye on the games. I've watched probably 50% of them. Obviously they come at a time like the early evening games I don't get to see so much of, but my daughter has taken an interest. Obviously, you say about the Lionesses games, both the France game and the Netherlands game, both played in Zurich, both sold out. Some of the other grounds, I mean, from what I can gather, the grounds have been picked are probably suitable for these group stages. They're small, compact, one tier, but there's still, I mean, I don't want to harp on about sort of attendances and that sort of thing, but some of the games maybe aren't as attracting as much interest as, say, the bigger nations, your Englands and your Germanys, who obviously are next door. Spain, I think, are being followed well. But I haven't actually looked ahead towards the group stages when obviously the interest will probably ramp up. I would have thought. Is that probably what the thinking is?
Yeah, it's a fair comment. I think that, it goes back to the whole change and moving forward with women's football. That, like I said, there's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
We do see it at men's World Cups, when we talk, and Euros, when we talk about attendances, there are, the games, your England's, your Wales as well, your France's, your Italy's, et cetera, et cetera. The big nations in men's football, are the ones that are most attended and the most difficult to obtain tickets for. And that's the same out here. I actually saw some fans outside yesterday. The first time I've seen it actually in a women's international game. Whether it's existed or not, I don't know, but it's the first time I've personally seen it where they were holding up placards asking for tickets.
Oh, really?
Because it was sold out. And I've not seen that at an England game before. So that was quite pleasing to me to see that. I hope they managed to get tickets in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a dad and his daughters who were out there, and I think they were on holiday, but they just wanted to go and see the game. So that was nice to see in a way.
Yeah, interesting take.
Yeah, that there was a clambering for tickets. But you're absolutely right. In terms of the smaller nations, there's not so much of a clamour for that. And part of that is quality based. You see it a lot there's such a divide between the bigger nations. Let's take England, for instance. There's a huge difference between England, France, Netherlands, their quality, Spain, of course, Germany, in comparison to some of the smaller nations. If you look at the likes of, let's take, I don't know if I want to go to the Nordic countries or not, but they've been struggling recently. But they have a rich history actually in women's football. But even they've been struggling with certain attendances and certain quality of late. But yeah, there are difficulties when you look at some of the weaker nations. They're gonna struggle to build up that adulation. It's down to quality. It's down to the push behind their own country. How much money is invested in women's football in that country.
Of course.
So it comes down to that. And the relevancy. We're still having our battles in England, of course, not in the women's international game, but certainly in terms of a club game. There's still a long way to go there in terms of domestically, where teams are pulling money out or deciding against investing money into their women's clubs, despite the growth that we've seen in women's football in just a very few short years. That's still a problem in England. So let alone some of these smaller nations that are in these tournaments. So there's a massive divide. And if we want that to change, if football wants that to change, there has to be some real difficult conversations and some really easy conversations to have as well about what matters and how they want to move forward. If equality matters, and I'm talking about real equality, I'm talking about men and women being able to play football here, but basic stuff. We're saying, the opportunity should exist for men and women in the same sphere. Like if that opportunity is to exist, then other countries, the smaller nations, have to get behind it in the same way that they do with men's and say, right, let's offer this opportunity for women to get involved in the game and give them that platform so that they can move forward and make something of it if they want to be successful, if they believe in equality, and if they want to, if they want to see themselves being successful at major tournaments. And that's the way to do it. It's that side of it is not a hard conversation, because it comes down to morals as far as I'm concerned.
No, I get you. I get you. Yeah, it's something that I guess it will just happen over a period of time. And I guess as England, we've seen it happen maybe quicker than say some of those Nordic countries that you mentioned. But let's go to England. Let's touch on the Lionesses. Obviously didn't get off to the best of starts against France, but turned it around against the Netherlands yesterday, on the day we're speaking. I must admit, I thought that we may struggle a bit against the Netherlands, but I think they frankly didn't turn up and made our life a lot easier. And it kind of paves our way now to the potential group stages. It can still go either way. But what's your take? What have you learned from the Lionesses? What have you seen? And how's it been?
Yeah, gosh. I mean, I was going to say a tale of two halves, but a tale of two matches, really. I mean, what a turnaround. I think that, my prediction before the tournament was, I hate to say it, but I thought that England were going to get knocked out of the group stage along with Wales. I didn't see us coming into this tournament in good form. We've lost a lot of the old guard, a lot of players retiring, a lot of discontent I've seen going about. And I kind of thought this is going to be one of those tournaments, a coming of age tournament. I thought this was going to be, you have to go through the ups and downs in any team, whether it's domestically, whether it's internationally, you go through the ups and downs, and it's growth. And sometimes it's really important to experience those downs so that you can move forward. It's very much the old adage of 2 steps forwards, 1 step back sort of scenario going on. So I kind of thought, okay, this tournament could be that. But it looks like their 1 step back was the France game. And they decided, no, we're not going to allow this to be the whole tournament, to be 1 step back. We're just going to get this one and done. We're going to get it over with in one game in the group in the first group game, and then we're going to move forward. It feels like they've connected incredibly well after that. It's like they came into that game, they seemed so disconnected and disjointed in the game against France. And then last night, it was like watching a different team perform. They gelled so well together. And, conversely with the Dutch, they had a good game. They're in a transition period. It seemed like against Wales, it seemed like they connected really well, though. It seemed like they were gelling well. But the Lionesses came on yesterday and completely undone them and really exposed their frailties. So it was very interesting to see last night. And the way that everyone's feeling now is that, they have every opportunity to go on and actually win the tournament and reclaim the championship. So it's definitely an interesting one. My position has changed absolutely, completely. I've done a massive U-turn and so many of us have, I think, from what we saw the other day.
Yeah.
And credit where credit's due. Sarina Wiegman, as always, absolute genius professor on the pitch, in the way that she's been able to change things with every squad that she manages. She is the ultimate when it comes to tournament managers. Any aspiring managers out there, look towards Sarina Wiegman. Certainly, as far as tournaments go, how well she would do in a league setup, I'm not so sure. Gareth Southgate was another one, wasn't he? When he, terms of, I'm not relatively untested, but in a tournament, he proved his worth just as Sarina Wiegman does, and she proved it again last night in the setup that she had. I think it's 4-3-3. I've always been a massive fan of that formation. And we flew, we really allowed that formation, allowed players, to really play at their best last night. Your likes of Lauren James, who is magnetic. It's like she's got a little magnetic plate to her feet, and the ball is made of metal and it just clings to her, doesn't it? And it's, unbelievable. So we've got some of the finest players in the world, as we know. We've got arguably one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player in the world, with Lauren James. That is certainly something that's been bandied about quite a lot. And who's to argue when you watch the way that she performed like she did last night?
Yeah.
and she's grown. She's still young. So there's every opportunity that we could go on and win the tournament. Tough challenges are going to come, of course, but Wales up next, and I've got no doubt that we will dominate Wales and send them packing. Even though, you know, they're on the brink already. But, yeah, I think that, we'll go to St. Gallen on Sunday and, we'll produce a similar form. I'm not so sure we'll get the 4-0 thrashing that we had last night. I think it'll be slightly different in terms of our setup. There might be some rest, but bear in mind, we're not there yet.
No, this is true.
So it's in our hands. It's in our hands, but we're not there yet. It's still a tight group. There's still a situation where we might get knocked out.
Yeah.
In the group stage. So we still have to do our best. We can't underlook Wales and the grit and determination that they have. You know, the scoreline that they have been losing, you know, it doesn't tell the story necessarily. Losing 4-1 to France last night for the Welsh, that didn't really tell the story of the game. So we do have to be wary of Wales. I think we will probably beat them 2-0. That's my prediction. And I think it'll be quite comfortable. But we do have to be very wary and show them respect.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, the Welsh, you just had to see when Fishlock scored, the emotion from the stands, from the players. Admittedly, once the VAR check had gone through, but yeah, to see them on the stage for the first time, you could see the emotion, and they'll bring that into the game against us because, well, they won't want to lose heavily to their near neighbours. Yeah, as you say, you do sort of cast your eye maybe towards the knockout stages, with obviously bearing in mind that we can still be knocked out, but there are some still very good quality teams left in. We've already mentioned Spain, Germany. I must admit, I've been quite impressed with Sweden as well. France, who we've already seen. I mean, who have you seen that sort of you think could be our final opponents?
Oh, France. Yeah, completely. I think France are the ones that scare me the most. I've had France down as my favourites for the tournament for a couple of months now. They're in such a good place. They were a little bit fragile last night against Wales in moments.
Yeah.
As I say, despite the scoreline, it didn't tell the complete story. But you know, it is the group stage still, and they still coasted to that victory. So there are situations to exploit within that French squad, no doubt about that. But what the French are offering more than any other side, for me, is that unity and that gelling right now. They are gelling and their unity. That's what wins tournaments. You know, it isn't about the individual players that win tournaments. It's having a unity, it's connecting well, communication on the pitch, it's grit and it's determination. French have got all of that in abundance and more. So for me, I think France are going to win the tournament. If I'm putting my neutral head on, but Spain obviously are up there. They are the favourites for most. You can't discount Spain, of course. They are the world champions after all. But yeah, for me, it's going to be France. They're the ones that I feel, you know, are the ones to watch out for. And obviously, we've had a dose of that already. We've seen what they can do. So it'll be interesting to see how they go forward. You mentioned the other teams. You know, Germany, of course. Yeah, Germany always going to be in amongst it, always up there, even when they're going through transition periods of their own and everything else. They're always there. They're always in amongst it. They were there at the last final. You know, in the Euros against us, of course, and they weren't at their best. They weren't at their best then, and they still made it to the final. So, yeah, Germany are always in amongst it. You're absolutely right about Sweden as well. Sweden are another one that they're not what I would call underdogs. They're not favourites, but they would be a team that I would expect to see in and around that kind of semi-final position comfortably. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see who kind of moves forward in that lot, and maybe there'll be a surprise elsewhere. There usually is at least one. I'm not sure who that would be. I kind of feel like there's going to be It's not going to be the tournament for the underdogs, though. I feel like this is going to be a tournament for the favourites, and those are the teams that we'll see in the latter stages for the final four.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to have been an upset as yet, really, does there?
No, not really. It's been quite routine, I think, for a lot of sides. I hope there will be an upset to come along. I think it would be really good for the neutral. I think it would be really good for fans who are in support, normally of the men's game, to see what things can happen, what upsets can happen. I think you need those kind of moments to entertain, those dramatic moments to really get people on board and to get people talking. Drama is so important for football, as we know. That's what makes everything so enjoyable. That's what brings out the passion. We're England fans, not because we win. We're England fans because we lose. That's what brings the passion out, the excitement, the entertainment. It's those 60 years of hurt nearly next year, 60 years of hurt. It's that has pushed us to this level as a country, in terms of supporting England. It isn't the wins that supply that. So it's all about the drama, and that's very, very important. So to bring those neutral fans over, to bring those fans over on the other side, so to speak, it's really important to have something there for them to grasp hold of and to say, okay, this is what I'm going to sit down and watch because this is shocking. You see it with the FA Cup, the greatest club competition in the world, with the FA Cup. And the reason why that is so famous and so popular is because it's the story of the underdogs. So we need some of that, I think, to really bring some new fans over.
I think as well, what they'll often say about tournaments is the longer the host nation are within it, the more sort of the locals are obviously on board and the enjoyment is there. Switzerland opened the account with a defeat to Norway. Then they beat Iceland 2-0, and it means they then play Finland. But they could go either way. And I mean, what's been sort of the general local feeling to the tournament? The Swiss, are they on board?
I've got to be honest, I haven't seen a huge amount out here. I've obviously been to a few big cities. I haven't seen the surge as I hoped I would see. I haven't seen a huge amount of people wandering about, being very, very excited about the tournament, as you would. But, I hate to say it, if this was the men's Euros, you would really get that feeling. You'd be able to wander around and you would feel that energy everywhere you went. And it almost wouldn't matter what city you're in. You would see people walking around in Swiss shirts and everything else. I haven't really had that. In the cities where the Swiss have played a little bit more, perhaps, naturally, because of course that's where the fans are going to go to. But you wouldn't normally see that in a men's tournament. It wouldn't really matter where you would go. You'd have that energy everywhere. And I haven't really had that out here. I suppose one of the differences that I've noticed as well, I must admit, I did spend a week in a very small town, so I didn't really get the opportunity in that. I was out in Weinfelden last week with the Wales camp, and in a small town, you're not going to get that energy across. But, I've been in Basel and Zurich as well, and I've seen these big cities. And during a men's World Cup or men's Euros, you will, everywhere you go, whether it's a match day or, more importantly, a non-match day, you will see fans everywhere. You'll see people wandering about, exploring the culture and the cities and the towns, and you'll see the shirts and everything else. And I haven't really seen that, or I've only seen it on match days. I've not really seen it outside of that. So in terms of the Swiss, I would hope that they are there. Don't get me wrong. They are there and they are embracing it. But a long way to go for women's football still. And we can't kind of take that for granted, I think. They're doing what they can. The authorities are doing what they can to boost it. But it's not where I'd want it to be. I don't think personally I want to see more energy towards these tournaments. Just like we do in the men's game. Yeah. I'd want to be able to walk out. It's a party. I want every day to feel like a party. If I think of if I talk about Qatar, for instance, and it's very, very different. And Doha, it was all in one city. That having that feeling, being able to go outside and just every single day being around fans and soaking up that energy day to day is such an amazing feeling as a fan, as someone in the media. It's a brilliant thing to be a part of, and for the players, of course, as well. That's what they want. So it is always a shame when you wander around at a tournament and you just don't feel that that high energy. And yeah, my experience, maybe it's different to everybody else's, as I say, especially after spending a week in a very small town, but certainly from being in some of these big cities, I haven't felt that energy as much as I'd like to.
Okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, maybe once the group stages come round, it'll start to ramp up. In the short time that we've got left, I know obviously you're doing your best to help push the interest in the game there, and you're posting on Instagram your journeys. Where can we see some of your work and what you're doing out there as a freelancer?
Yeah, so I'm writing articles for a brand new US based firm, which is really cool. So that's one of the things which I'm doing. So they've got a network of 50 sites. So that's good. They're called the Sports Talk Group.
Right.
And Sports Talk United is what you've got to look for with those.
Right.
Which is really good. So you'll be able to see some of the articles that I'm writing there. That's sportstalkunited.com. So I've been basically reporting on both Wales and England games. I've been doing reports there. I also work for the Sleeper Network. So you'll be able to see bits and pieces there. So I actually am a representative for Brighton and Hove Albion, which I've been doing in the past season. So you'll be able to see all kinds of different bits and pieces on Sleeper Network.
Excellent.
So go and check out them, Sleeper Football. And of course, as always, check out my bits and pieces with Steve Hopper TV. You'll be able to go on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube at Steve Hopper TV and see some of the bits and pieces that I've been up to on those channels. And there's lots more to come. We're also banking lots of footage and creating different content now, which is going to be used later on after the tournament. So it's future-proofed in a way, which is really, really good. So there'll be lots of things coming up. It's going to be a really interesting couple of years because, of course, not only this tournament, but I'm building, and some of the companies I'm working with, we're building for the World Cup, of course, next year, the Men's World Cup out in the US, Mexico, and Canada. So we've already started preparations for that. Really excited for that. And then, of course, the Women's World Cup out in Brazil the following year, we've got one eye on that as well. So North and South America bounds for those. So we'll see how those move forward. But yes, the Euro stuff, you're going to see all sorts of bits and pieces on there. And fingers crossed we can get some good stuff, and hopefully we can bring the trophy back home.
Absolutely superb stuff. Well, I'll link to some of those on the podcast and on the social media as well. Steve, once again, thank you very much for your time. Maybe as the tournament goes on, we can maybe catch up again.
Lovely. Thank you, Russell. Really appreciate that. Yeah, always good to catch up with you and hear from you.
Yes, and you. Well, take care, and hopefully I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you very much to Steve there. I know for whatever reason I was saying group stages during that conversation, when clearly I meant the knockout stages. I can only blame it on the hot weather. By the time this comes out, you'll probably know the outcome of some of the other results. But as we discussed there, hopefully come the later stages of the tournament, we can chat again with Steve. But let's leave it there. Don't forget, go check out the socials. Just search 3 Lions Podcast. Likes, thumbs up, follows, all appreciated. Likewise for Steve's channels that he mentioned. You can find Steve over on Instagram. You can find him Steve Hopper TV. I'll be back with you very soon with some more England-related content. So until then, take care in the sun. Cheers.